Welcome again to one of our group training sessions. This session is all about communication. Bit of a boring topic, but absolutely essential. How do we communicate with clients? How do we communicate with candidates? Both on the words that we say, but also the tone and pace that we use. We want to sound like we own the business that we work for in order to get credibility. This is a session focused around role selection, increasing the number of referrals that we get from a client basis and from a candidate basis by improving the credibility and experience that both of those individuals have. So I hope you find value in it. And here we go. Communication is our first topic of today. One thing we're going to change in the organisation is that we are focusing on two elements, or I am focusing on two elements currently. One is our client journey, and the second is our candidate journey. How you communicate with your candidates and clients is in essence your differentiator, because they are measuring you in your ability to be able to talk to them and not only what you say, but also how you say it. I'm not going to focus so much on what you're saying, I'm going to focus on how you're saying it at this point, or a little bit of how you could say something differently. So if you imagine that, and I like using the restaurant analogy on the basis that 99% of people, I'm sure, have been in the UK, have been to a restaurant at some point. So if you're in a restaurant and the person and the waiter or waitress is just a miserable fuck, you've got a good understanding that this isn't going to be the best part of the meal, right? They've done a test where they've had Michelin star food in shit restaurants and the food has been rated low. The reason that it's been rated low is because the experience outplays the food. Right? If you walk into a bar and the person behind the bar and you're on a, let's say you're on a stag do and you're out with your lads and the person behind the bar is just an absolute miserable toad and you're sat in the bar and you're like, oh, fucking hell, should we go somewhere else? Right? That could be really good beer. It could be really good, the bar could be full of women. You're the only man in there. You sat at the bar because it's the only space and you're like, fucking hell. It might not matter if it's a club and whatever else, but if that kind of setting and the person behind there is incredibly rude to you, the effect that you have with regards to how you communicate with somebody is your single biggest differentiator when you're on the phone. Making your calls memorable should be one of your goals for every single call, every single discussion. That when somebody goes, oh yeah, I've spoken to him in the past, or I've spoken to her in the past, they'll remember you because of the call. They won't remember what you said, they'll remember how you made them feel. If you are professional yet incredibly upbeat, incredibly motivating, then they will remember that. If you take a certain level of attention to detail around their background, so I'll give you an example. When a candidate tells you that they've grown a business from X to Y on the revenue, and you go, great, what was the EBITDA? Great, how many M&As did you do? We're actually listening to the person's communication. Instead, they go, I grew the revenue from 40 million to 240 million. And you go, I'm sure you know this, but you do know that that's really impressive. I speak with candidates every day. Some of them grow from 50 to 70, some of them but to grow a business from 40 to 200 plus is particularly rare. How did you do that? Bang, key achievement, key achievement, key achievement, key achievement. We did it by 3 M&As. We also grew the EBITDA by this. You've got all the information that you need out of asking one powerful question, and they just went, okay, this guy's recognised that I'm good. And they're going to come off the phone. Whether how good you are and how long you've been in the job is irrelevant. They're going to come off the phone and go, I like that guy. Because you made them feel special. You made them feel important. When you're speaking with a client and they're talking to you all about their portfolio company and what they're doing in X, Y, and Z, and you ask questions like, instead of investment, what's this? What made you interested in this portfolio company? Well, I've done deals such as this and this and completed this. I'm also, and you can have it open, before this call, Mr. Client, I looked at your background. You used to work for JP Morgan in investment banking. What made you go into private equity? Now, with some of the senior guys, this may not work, but some of the more principal level, vice president level, and more junior partners, if you think sub 40, that will really work. Because there's nothing people with money that spend time with people that are richer than them, if you think about managing partners and partners, that they like talking about themselves. Because all they get is, when they speak to partners, they're only interested in what the partner's done, whereas you're elevating them to the level that their seniors are at. Tell me about what you've done. Tell me about what you've achieved. When you have that level of communication, it changes everything. There's a really powerful question that's rarely asked. It should be asked, but it's on the search take-on. That question is, tell me about you. How do you lead? How do you manage your portfolio companies? What's the relationship you like to have with your portfolio companies? Tell me a bit about yourself. Well, I've done this, I've done that, I've moved into this, I've gone through this. And you're like, and when you say things like, it's rare for me to see people that have come from outside of investment banking and made it in private equity. Now in Europe, that's not the case, but in America, that definitely is the case. You're just demonstrating that you know what you're talking about. It's rare that I'll see somebody of your seniority with looks like your years of experience. How have you excelled? If you're talking to them about portfolio search, you've got the opportunity to learn all about them. If you're talking about private equity search, you've got even more opportunity to learn all about them because they are the person that's hiring this person likely. And if they're not, ask them about the person that is. What made you work for this organisation? If you're in private equity search, what made you come and work at this company? Great question. They'll share with you all about it. I'm sure you got plenty of offers and opportunities because I can see that you worked at JP Morgan in investment banking. Way to make them feel special without you even thinking about it. Well, yeah, actually, I did get those offers and I'm really fancy. It doesn't matter whether they work at a shit hot firm or a shit one. It's irrelevant. Make them feel special. Your communication will improve on somebody and demonstrate your knowledge and expertise within your space, within your sector. Good recruiters will look at websites and go through it. Great recruiters will have every website that they need, a web page that they need open. They will have their LinkedIn profile open. They will have their portfolio company project open. They will have their team page open. Because then you can have a conversation when there needs to be, and you don't have to do a ton of research. You can go, oh, I can see that you worked at X company. And even better, if you can go, I actually know someone who worked there. I actually know someone that. Oh, I see that you worked at Brigal, or I see that you worked at Middle Ground Capital. We work with Middle Ground Capital. I can see that you've done X, Y, and Z. I've spoken to people there. This is what I believe the culture's like. Expertise. Demonstrating knowledge, demonstrating you know the sector. Most recruiters don't know what they're talking about. Most recruiters don't understand private equity. Most recruiters don't understand what an actual chief exec does. You have the opportunity to separate via communication and how you're talking and how you're asking questions. Now, I'm talking a lot about what we're saying here. In the first part I said is I'm not interested so much about what you're saying. I'm more interested about how you say it. So I'm now going to focus on that part. How you communicate is incredibly important. How I'm communicating with you right now is I'm not umming. I'm not sitting here and going, hi guys, I'm going to tell you about communication. When you're talking about my pace is slow, I'm allowing the other person to potentially interrupt me, but I'm also commanding the fact that it won't happen. A, because we're sat in the room, B, because I'm doing training. But if you're on the phone, your pace and your communication is incredibly important. Because you want to sound like you're on the same level as this individual. If you walk in 5 years' time, 2 years' time, 10 years' time to go and buy your dream car, and the person that's selling you your dream car is dressed like you right now, would that improve the level of you buying that car, or would it not? If you go into that new car sales, if you go to buy a Ferrari, Lamborghini, whatever it is that you want to buy, and you go in and that person looks homeless, do you trust that person? How you communicate is everything in your phone calls and your discussions, because that brings a level of trust. People buy from people they believe are on the same plane, same level, and same place as them, and they will do a trade. Things like the longer you've worked at a firm gives you gravitas on the basis that, well, they've worked there for a while, so they must be able to do something. Your job title gives you a level of gravitas because the more senior you are, the more likely you are. That's why in venture capital, people get promoted to investment director and principal very early. Because it's many stories on that, but it's mainly about gravitas when they're speaking with portfolio companies. You can't argue the big winners in private equity, so the talent's short. If you don't come across like you own this business when you're on the phone and you want somebody to go, oh, do you own this business? And that is a hell of a compliment. Because if you can communicate like that, you are absolutely winning when it comes to a managing partner. Because if they can see you as an equal, you're in a very strong position. When you put them on a pedestal, it makes it very hard to sell. When you act like you're above them, it makes it very, very difficult for them to buy from you. But when you see them and they see you as an equal, that you can bring value and you have knowledge and you have expertise, you will have that. Part of that is in what you say, part of that is in how you say it. So next time you're in a restaurant, next time you're in a bar, and you're listening to somebody talk, think, could you do this your job fucking better and make me have a better experience by doing nothing but communicating with you differently? So we can all think at the time we've gone into a bar and gone, yeah, do you know what, let's fix it. You know, I think about, there's not many great places in Leeds, but Decanter in Leeds for me is great. There's one guy there that's fucking useless, and I wouldn't have made me an amaretto salad. There's another guy there that is very good. There was a person there that was very good, and now she works at, I'll get her name right? But people that make you feel special. You know, I can't remember who it was that said, but it was a guy who owns nightclubs, and he said, we want everybody when they walk into our nightclub to feel like they're a very important person. We want them to feel like they're VIP. The reason for that is because they knew that if they felt like a baller and a top person, they'd spend like one. Yeah. Why do you think if you go to nightclubs, more so abroad in my experience, but they'll bring, if you buy a bottle of champagne, they'll bring the flame thing and they'll walk over to it. Because it makes you feel special, and everyone else goes, oh, they've got a thing on their table, and fucking things. Then you buy a cheap bottle and you get a little, right? If you buy a really big expensive one, fucking hell. Right? And it makes you feel special, okay? So how you communicate and how you talk, the language you use, the tonality you use is incredibly important.